Hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to the Flight Sim world. This is Viperstrike 95 Flight Sim, and today we're back with the Around the World trip. Man, has it been nearly 2 weeks since the last one? It's been 2 weeks since the last Around the World trip. It's great to see you guys here, and we're doing day 4 of our Around the World trip as we bid farewell to the Bahamas one last time. Today we got two pretty cool legs today. We'll be taking the ATR from MYNN-KEYW-MUHA International to Key West, Florida first, and then from Key West, a short hop south into Havana, Cuba. So good to see you guys here. So here's what it looks like on the map with each of the legs. So, so here it is, MYNN-KEYW-MUHA, go all the way across Andros Island, and we'll make our way over to Key West, Florida. The first leg should take us about 250 nautical miles and should be in 1 hour 15-minute flight. Then the other leg is from Key West, and we'll be making our way south over to Havana, Cuba. Just like that. Should be a exciting flight. Now, before we get started, we're going to say hello to everyone in the chat. We have Filthy2214. Good to see you, my dude. So, we're here at Pinling International here in Nassau, the main gateway to the Bahamas. And this is the ATR 72 here today. So, we're here to do these flights. So yeah, the ATR did go through quite a bit of an update. It just went through another update yesterday. If you guys haven't got your ATR updated, if you haven't, they added quite a few new changes. Including reworked throttle calibration, MSC testing, roll hold, EFB changes, added waypoint, fix bugs and stuff, add repair stuff. They added some new stuff. Quite a nice little patchwork, this one. So let's go ahead and take this into the cockpit. Let's import the flight plan. Nice. We're going to go ahead and set the flight plan. Set the fuel, and set the payload. So yeah, this is the first time I've flown this since the update, so let's go ahead and turn everything on. So yeah, we got two legs coming here today. We're going to go to performance, initialization. Um, this we're gonna go 20,000 feet. So we're gonna go 20,000 feet in this. Good. Hey, good to see you, Dougal. Welcome on in, Dougal McTavish. Good to see you. Happy Friday to you, my dude. I can't wait for the weekend. We got some big stuff. We're just getting the ATR started. We're going to make our first way into Key West in beautiful Florida. Should be a stunning trip. So, we're doing day 4 of our trip, by the way. So, very excited to get this started. We don't need an ILS approach for this one. We're going to go ahead and get the navigation set up for 20,000 feet. Hey, Super Typhon, good to see you, my dude. Oh my goodness. -9 degrees Celsius. Yeah, it's -9. Yeah, that's not good. That's 15 degrees Fahrenheit. Um, right now it's 20 degrees here in Indiana. That's, oh, that looks good. And we can start taxiing in and out of here. Oh yeah, one last thing. They also added some new stuff here in the EFB. They added new ground power settings, service door. They added some new stuff here. I'm going to prepare for the... Yeah, my wall thins. Yeah, thin walls. Yeah, I bet you. Definitely for sure. So, we're gonna get ready to take off here from Nassau. We're gonna it's about 1 hour and it's an hour and 15-minute flight from Nassau to Key West. So if you guys aren't aware about this airport, MYNN-KEYW is the international gateway to the Bahamas. It's the busiest airport on the islands. There's flights across North America, Central America, and Europe. And of course, destinations all across the Caribbean as well. So that's MYNN-KEYW. So we got that going on. So for today's topics for today's flight, we actually talk about Cuba. We'll talk a little bit about Cuba. We'll talk more about Cuba for the next 2 legs. Trying to branch them out. But the main topics are going to be mainly the history, geography, and of course, we'll talk about Cuba's airline, Cubana de Aviación. takeoff power. There's Mr. 90 and the Steerman. Mr. 90 and the Steerman is here. I don't think the Steerman's going to keep up for today. Oh, it was Mr. 90. He was here. He was in NASA. So, we bid farewell to the Bahamas for one last time. Yeah, this is the new province. Oops. There's beautiful Nassau International. Beautiful. Definitely worth a place to check visiting. Yeah, it's hard to believe a lot of people don't know this, but a lot of people, most of the people in the Bahamas live around this area here. And this flight was not what I was expecting it to be. Thankfully, the next one's going to be a lot shorter than this, so we don't have to worry about takeoffs doing much. As soon as we leave New Providence, we'll start talking a little bit about Cuba, because I think Cuba is a really fascinating area to learn about. So we finally have New Providence for the last time. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about Cuba. Good evening to you, Kingsman. Good afternoon from Indiana, my dude. I hope you're doing well, Kingsman. So let's go ahead and talk about Cuba here. Um, Cuba is an island country comprising of the island of Cuba, Isla de la Juventud, archipelagos, over 4,195 islands encased surrounding the main island. Cuba is located east of the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico, south of Florida in the Bahamas, west of the island of Hispaniola, and north of Jamaica and the Caymans. Cuba is the second most populous country in the Caribbean after Haiti, with over 11 million people. Cuba used to be a colony of Spain back in the 15th century, and it lasted until after the end of the Spanish-American War, when it was occupied by the Americans and given independence in 1902. Cuba definitely had a very interesting 20th century, for sure, which I will talk more about soon. However, one of the unique and interesting things about Cuba is it's one of the only Marxist-Leninist one-party socialist states in the world, in which the Communist Party is actually enshrined in the Constitution. Its regime is authoritarian, with no political opposition, with extensive censorship. It's also a founding member of the UN, Non-Aligned Movement, Organization of African, Caribbean, and Pacific States, and more. And still one of the world's few planned economies still there as well. So Cuba definitely has some stuff, and mainly their economy is dominated by tourism, skilled labor, sugar, tobacco, and coffee. So Cuba definitely is a very interesting place to learn about, for sure. So let's talk briefly about Cuba's history while we're at it. Before the Spanish arrival to the island, Cuba was inhabited by two distinct tribes of indigenous Americans. Oh hey, we got a follow from EasyJet228. Thank you so much for the follow, my dude. Welcome on in. We're doing my around the world trip. I do twice a week here, on Fridays and Sundays. So that's what we're doing here today. So we're currently doing the first leg of today's flight. We're traveling from Nassau to Havana, but we're going to take a brief stop into Key West, Florida first, since I wanted to make this last a little. So before the Spanish arrived, there are two indigenous tribes, American tribes. We have the Taino, which include the Siboney people, and the Guanahatabey. The ancestors of the Taino migrated from South America to here around the 3rd century AD. Now, the Guanahatabey were more unknown, so we're kind of unknown. However, the first landing on the island, in Cuba, the first time Spanish had discovered Cuba was on October 27th, 1492, by Christopher Columbus. Columbus claimed the island was part of the Kingdom of Spain and named it Isla Juana after John, Prince of Asturias. And the first Spanish settlement in Cuba was found by Diego Velázquez de Stellar at Baracoa, and soon other ones followed, including San Cristobal de la Habana, which is now known as the capital of Havana. About a couple decades afterwards, and by 1570, most residents of Cuba comprised of a mixture of Spanish, African, and Taino heritages. Cuba slowly developed slowly, and unlike the other plantation islands of the Caribbean, had a very diverse agricultural society. Then also the 7 Years' War happened, and British troops tried to take Cuba. but ultimately, after the war, the Spanish got the island back. But the largest factor for the growth of Cuba's commerce during the late 18th and early 19th century was the Haitian Revolution, when the enslaved peoples of what thought to be Caribbean's rich economy freed themselves. Cuban planners perceived the region of the changed circumstances with both fear and opportunity, and as a result, they helped turn and it helped transform Cuba's economy into a very flourishing economy as well, though slavery is still an issue. So, I'm not on VATSIM, EasyJet. No, I'm not on VATSIM. I am just doing normal flying. No, I'm not on VATSIM at all. But thank you for asking, though. I have a VATSIM account, but I don't really use it right now because, well, and that's because, well, I I haven't done it yet, and plus, I'm just, with my autism a little bit, kind of hesitant. But thank you for asking, though. Yeah, the Google says, are you in the UK? Yeah, because EasyJet is one of the budget airlines in the UK. By the way, some of you guys that don't know about EasyJet. Um, Let me go back to my history. Sorry, I haven't checked yet. However, full independence from Spanish was a goal for a rebellion in 1868 by Carlos Manuel de Cepedes. However, it didn't take until 30 years later. Um, but um, however, um, but dreams of Cuban independence happened 30 years later during the Spanish-American War, as many Cubans joined with the Americans. Um, with the Spanish-American War. While there was a lot of rebellions in Spain and between the Spain and the Cuban rebels, however, the thing that started to really change, however, was when the USS Maine was sent by the Americans, were sent to Cuba to protect American interests. However, after it arrived, it actually exploded in Havana Harbor, killing nearly three-fourths of the crew. Popular opinion blamed Spanish. So afterwards, Spain and the U.S. declared war, starting the Spanish-American War. And after much intense fighting, the Americans were able to defeat the Spanish in both the Philippines and especially in Cuba. So Spain and the U.S. signed the Treaty of Paris in 1898, which Spain ceded Puerto Rico, the Philippines, and Guam to the United States. Cuba became a protectorate and even gained formal independence on May 20th, 1902. So it's now became an independent state. Cuban historian, Cuban definitely has gone through quite a bit of changes. Early on, Cuba continued to grow with tourism and stuff. However, and there was also a new constitution in 1940, which engineered radical progressive ideas like healthcare and labor, with President Batista being elected. However, Fulgencio Batista, however, was also a very controversial guy as well. And while he did carry reforms during his early time in the 40s, however, it was really the 50s where things started to really change for Cuba. That was because after years of Batista's military coup, he kind of stamped down a lot of um, a lot of the lower class people didn't do very well, and as a result, Fidel Castro gained a lot of support in Cuba. Um, and combine all this with um, disenfranchisement and all that, the communists finally rebelled against him with during the Cuban Revolution in 1959, with Castro's forces being able to defeat Batista's led forces, and, and Fidel Castro took power. Initially, the U.S. government favored the Cuban Revolution. However, once Cuba legalized the Communist Party and executions of a lot of Batista agents and supporters, it caused deterioration between Cuba and the U.S. And there was even an attempt to actually overthrow Cuba's government, known as the Bay of Pigs, but that ended up failing. And all that failing lead with Cuba, and plus with Cuba's closer relations to the USSR, it triggered something else too. The Cuban Missile Crisis. If you guys were around during that time, basically the Cuban Missile Crisis was basically a 13-day confrontation between the Americans and Soviets about nuclear missiles. It was originally started with the Americans putting nuclear missiles into Turkey and Italy, and the Soviets wanted to match that because the Cold War is like one big chess game. They decided what better way to put nuclear missiles into Cuba, and that led to a lot of negotiations and debates. And ultimately, it reached an agreement that the Soviets would dismantle their weapons in Cuba in exchange for the U.S. not to invade Cuba ever again, as well as dismantling all the nuclear missiles in Turkey. So, thank goodness that didn't happen, or else World War III would have happened. That could never be. During the Cold War era, Cuban forces were also deployed all over Africa as military advisors of combatants. Like, for example, they sent tanks in support for Algeria, as well as supporting guerrilla activities in Africa, a revolt in Libya. During this time, and Cuba played an important role in the Cold War throughout much of in Africa and the Middle East. However, during the 1970s, the standard of living in Cuba was kind of Spartan. There was a lot of discontent. After the Soviet troops withdrew from Cuba, Castro's rule was severely tested after the Soviet collapse in 1991. However, Cuba found a new partner on the Republic of China, the Democratic Republic of China, the People's Republic, as well as Bolivia and Venezuela. And then in 2013, Cuba ended the law requiring citizens who wish to travel abroad to obtain a special permit. Cuba even got a new constitution in 2019. Got a new constitution, and that basically wraps up some bit of Cuba's history. It's just a brief overview of Cuba, but definitely Cuba's got a very turbulent 20th century. And certainly, Cuba continued to play a big role in the world stage. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed some bit of that history. A little bit of a history lesson. I've been doing these sort of streams since I started back in 2021. Yeah, this is Andros Island we just passed. This is Andros Island, which passing through for the last time. So yeah, guys, this weekend's gonna come up big time this weekend. We got some really cool stuff planned for this weekend. We got some pretty cool things planned for the weekend. We got set up. One of the big things that we got this weekend, later today on Tuto Murphy's stream, he's gonna be taking the, he'll be taking, let's see, sorry, it's busy. Okay, he's taking the Piper M500, the FS Reborn 500, to the South Island of New Zealand. So should be a beautiful flight. He'll be flying over the northern island of New Zealand, which would be absolutely beautiful. New Zealand's stunning. Also on Saturday we have Alison Johnson's stream. She'll be flying another leg of the Sheila Scott's around the world trip from Mount Isa to Brisbane, then from Brisbane down over to beautiful Sydney, which is where our Australia hub is located. And of course, on Sunday, for me at least, will be day 5 of our around the world trip. We'll travel through half of our Cuba trip. We'll go back to Havana and travel all the way to Cayo Coco. We'll be going through the cities of Matanzas and Santa Clara, Cuba. And then part 2 of the island tour of Cuba would be from Cayo Coco to Baracoa, which was the original Spanish settlement in Cuba. So it should be an absolutely beautiful flight. Should be really nice. That's the plans for this weekend. In terms of other stuff going on, in terms of sports news, for the NFL, we have the second round of the playoffs. I didn't talk about Wednesday though. Forgot to talk about it. In the wild card, the CJ Stroud Houston Texans just dismantled the Browns, which I couldn't even believe they'd managed to dismantle. I did not see that one coming. And just much I didn't see coming was the Packers just absolutely laying on the Cowboys. So both first-time playoff starts for both Jordan Love and Stroud, they just dismantled their team. The Lions managed to beat the Rams just by 1 point. And then the Bills beat the Steelers. That should be pretty much expected. But the one I'm most shocked is how badly did the Eagles just fumble their chances away. 32-9 to the Baker Mayfield-led Buccaneers team. Wow, that man, poor Eagles fans, like that's not how you want your season to end. So this week the division round will be the Texans, Ravens, Packers, 49ers, Buccaneers, Lions, and Chiefs and Bills. So if you want me to give my thoughts, I'm going to say the Ravens definitely beat. I'd say the Ravens beat Houston. So anything can still happen. Jordan Love's run will end against the 49ers. I have the Lions edging out the Buccaneers. It'll be a pretty close game, and then the Chiefs Bills game. But if I'm going to be honest, I'm going to give the win to the Chiefs. Setting up the AFC and NFC title games between the Lions and 49ers and the Chiefs. And then for the rest of it, I think the Ravens beat Kansas City. And I think the Niners beat the Lions. Setting up a rematch. Set up. And that would set up a Super Bowl rematch. And that will set up a rematch of Super Bowl Super Bowl 47. So it's a rematch of Super Bowl 57 between the Ravens, and I think the Ravens are going to win a championship. Lamar Jackson gets a ring. Yeah, what hurts me as a Brown fans now into the Texas beat is they took our lunch money. I know. I know, right? All that for Deshaun Watson. Yeah, I forgot the Deshaun Watson trade. Oh, oh boy. Yeah, the Deshaun Watson trade. I forgot how lopsided that trade ended up. Yeah, Deshaun Watson was traded way back in. The Tex for Deshaun Watson. They got they got they got the 2022 first round pick, 2023 first round pick, 2024 first round pick, three first round picks, first round for the next three seasons in 2022, 23, 24, plus a 2023 third round pick and the 2024 fourth round. All that for Deshaun Watson, which, I mean, the Texans made some pretty good picks. They took Kenyon Green with the 2022 pick. Will Anderson Jr. was their third round pick. Will Anderson's definitely been a pretty good player this year. He got 7 sacks in his rookie season. He had a really nice year. And of course, Tank Dell, when he didn't get hurt, Tank Dell ended up being a really great deal. Um, Dell ended up being a pretty big steal. Man, yeah, they got next year's. I know it's a terrible trade. Should have probably developed Baker Mayfield. Poor Browns. Poor Browns fans. Like, that franchise has not done things right. Even when they did come close to the playoffs, they still couldn't get it done, sadly. Uh, so I also did, over the last couple days, I also got the Pittsburgh Steelers achievement done for Firefly Air. Uh, yeah, I know. Baker Mayfield was the first round pick, and yet he threw for 3 touchdowns. I know. That makes it even worse. Uh, yeah, being a Browns fan is similar to being a Lions fan. Be miserable. Uh, yeah, but I got managed to get done the Pittsburgh Steelers achievement yesterday, which was nice. Which is my own achievement I made, and I followed through the entire 1978 season for the Steelers. We went 14-2 with one of the most legendary teams of all time, with Hall of Famer talents on both sides, like Mean Joe Green, Jack Ham, Jack Lambert, Mel Blount, Terry Bradshaw, Franco Harris, and the receiving duo of Lynn Swan, John Stallworth. Absolutely insane team. And like I said, it's great that we actually have an achievement that follows a team of an NFL season, which is insanely cool. And like I said, I want to do more sports-like achievements for others' teams as well. Maybe, for example, if we end up getting another hub, we could probably follow a different team. Let's say if we end up relocating from our West Coast hub from Tahoe, maybe if we did something, for example, like San Francisco, we might do something for the 49ers. Or Phoenix, we might do something for something like the Arizona Diamondbacks. We go recreate their 2001 ones. Or we could do or Boise, we could recreate the 2007 Boise State Bronco and travel to their games as well. Like I said, there's a lot of potential for these sports achievements, and it doesn't have to be American sports either. It could also be international sports, like following a team's trip to the World Cup or something like that. Oh yeah, I never thought I'd be jealous of the Detroit Lions. I know the Lions actually have a great future. The Lions are legitimately a very good team. I mean, they got Jared Goff, who's ended up being ever since been traded. Jared Goff has been very good for the Lions. He's been very, very good. I mean, it was rough trading Matt Stafford, but Jared Goff has been very, very good since his time in Detroit. Like after ever since then, he's been turned out to be a very good quarterback. And I mean, the Lions in general this year have been a very good team. I mean, there's a reason they won the North. They have great offense, really good offense. Defensively isn't nearly as good, but offensively the Lions are just not just Goff, but they also got Gibbs and David Montgomery to run the football, and then obviously in the pass game you got Amon St. Brown, who's really great this year, as well as rookie tight end Sam Laporta. He's been one of the best rookies this year. So I think the Lions could go far this year. I think they'll definitely probably make the NFC Championship. Hey, look, yeah, but I think in the Super, but I truly believe this year's Super Bowl is going to be Ravens 49ers. As I mean, the Ravens this year have been unbelievable. Lamar Jackson's going to be the short name for the MVP. There's no question about it. He's going to be the MVP. So yeah. In terms of other sports news, I do want to keep track of the NBA as well, the National Basketball Association. So far in the standings, the Sellers are clearly the best team in the NBA. They're the best team in the East, followed by the Bucks, 76ers, Cavs, Knicks, Heat, Pacers, and the Magic hold up the 8th spot. So you're going to see my two favorite NBA teams still in the playoff hunt, being the Pacers and Magic. The Pistons are still terrible. They only got 4 wins on the season, and they still won less than 10% of their games. Pistons still sink. I guess it's karma for the Lions being good. And then in the Western Conference, Minnesota. Who would have expected Minnesota and Oklahoma City to be the top 2? Followed by the defending champ Nuggets. Hey, we have Yasser Halida. Good to see you. Thank you so much for the follow, my dude. Good to see you. I hope you're doing well here. So we're doing our around the world trip for here today. We're doing some flying across from Nassau to Key West before heading back to Havana. So you're more than welcome to be here. Oh my goodness, yeah, we're 1 away from 800. Let's see if we get someone else. Then afterwards, we have the Clippers, Pelicans, Mavericks, Kings, and Suns round out the top 8. But the Jazz, I mean, they're only 1.5 games behind. Is the Utah Jazz. Stuff important for the NBA. So I want to talk a little bit more about Cuba while we're at it. In terms of Cuba's government, it is actually one of the few socialist countries that still follows the Marxist Leninist ideals. Basically, for guys that aren't aware about Marxism, Leninism, it's a branch of communist ideology. Um, it was once the largest communist movement in the world, developed by the Bolsheviks. It was the ideology of the USSR in the Eastern Bloc satellite states. Um, and the ideology basically revolves around to develop socialism and asserts that the people's interests are fully represented through the Communist Party state institutions, with collectivism and egalitarianism being a big part of their ideology. Are which includes much of it confiscates private businesses and land holdings. As well as a political economy. Also, basically, they still follow that stuff. The first secretary leads the Politburo, and making the office holder the most powerful person in government is the first secretary. And the Politburo is basically the central committee. Oh, hey, we got a raid from Angry One Horn. Good to see you, my dude. I hope you had a great time with your air mission in the Dragonfly. We're about to make our way over to Key West. We're doing the first of 2 legs of today's trip. And of course, we are in the EPR 782-600. We see a lot of names here. That's because they're probably in Miami right now. Enjoying the sunshine. Cuba's national legislative is the National Assembly of People's Power, or the Asamblea Nacional de Poder Popular. It's the supreme organ of power, and 609 members serve here in 5-year terms. They meet twice a year to support legislation power with 31-member council of ministers. All Cuban citizens over 16 who have not been convicted of criminal offense can vote. And there are elections here in Cuba, but they're not democratic. But they're not considered to be very democratic, as each of the candidates are nominated by the Communist Party. As well. Cuba is quite a bit left. It's very much communism, and so definitely a bit interesting for sure to learn about. We're just 113 nautical miles away from Key West. We should get there about around 30 minutes. Give it a take. Yeah, good to see you, Angry One Horn. Thank you so much for bringing your people here. For you guys who don't know, I am Viperstrike 95. I've been on The Sims since release date of 2020. I've been streaming since 2021. I do GA and airliner flights 3 days a week on Wednesdays, Fridays, and Sundays here on Twitch. Currently, we're doing an around-the-world trip. It's for every country in the world. We're mainly doing this in general aviation, but we will also split the time sometimes between with the airliners, just because kind of speed things up a little bit. That is what we're doing here today. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about Cuba's geography a bit. So Cuba itself is actually an archipelago. There's over 4,100 islands, cays, and islets across Cuba. Cuba's geography is definitely pretty interesting to learn about. So, for one, Cuba is the largest country by land area in the Caribbean, and it's the 17th, and its main island is the 17th largest island in the world by land area. Mostly Cuba's terrain is kind of flat and rolling plains with rugged hills and mountains to the southeast. The lowest point is the Caribbean Sea, but the highest point of Cuba is Pico Turkina at 6,476 feet, which is one of the highest points in the entire Caribbean. There's also lots of other mountain range, like the Sierra Crystal in the southeast, the Escambray Mountains in the central part of the island, and the Sierra de Rosario in the west. There's also lots of white sand beaches and mangroves in coastal areas. So definitely some really cool stuff. In terms of climate, um, while with the entire island south of the Tropic of Cancer, it's very tropical climate, monitored by northeasterly trade winds that blow year-round. It's also shaped by the Caribbean current, which brings a lot of warm water from the equator, making Cuba's climate warmer than that of Hong Kong. In general, there are drier seasons from November to September and a rainy season between May and October. The average temperature is 70 degrees in 7 degrees Fahrenheit in January and 81 degrees Fahrenheit in July. The warmer temperatures of the Caribbean Sea in Cuba sits in the entrance of the Gulf, make it very prone to hurricane. Also, in addition to this, for Cuba's biodiversity, something to point out as well, Cuba definitely has some pretty unique animals that live here too. Including the national bird, the Cuban trogon, with its unique white, red, and blue feathers. And it's also home to quite a few interesting. Another animal is the Cuban alligator, which only lives around this area. I mean, actually, it's the Cuban crocodile, one of the small animal that's. Okay, top of descent's going to be coming here soon. After the next waypoint will be top of descent over to Key West, Florida. So yeah, guys, I want to ask you all this. Do you guys have any really cool plans for this weekend? Um, there's all sorts of really cool things this weekend. So for me this weekend is to do more Firefly air flying because I have to catch up to Sean. Sean Dale is I need to catch up to him. He's over 100,000 XP. I'm still at 80 something thousand. I need to catch up. I need to play major catch. Yeah, he's already at 114,000. I'm like 30,000 less. So we're gonna go ahead and prepare for Key West. We're about to make top descent over into Key West, Florida. I do want to talk about Key West for a little bit, if you guys don't mind. Um, Here's Key West, Florida. Let's go ahead and talk about Key West as we prepare for top of descent. Key West, Florida is actually an island in the Straits of Florida within the U.S. state of Florida, connected with all parts of separate islands. Constitute the city of Key West. It's the county seat of Monroe County, Florida. Um, its population is around 226,440 people. And all of this is within an area of 4.2 square miles. But Key West is definitely a very cool city check out, especially around the Keys. A lot of cruise ships make their way into Key West. There's also a naval air station, which is an important train site for year-round naval aviation due to its weather. And the city itself has been around since pre-colonial times. However, Key West really grew starting in the late 19th century and early 20th century is where Key West really grew. In the 19th century, there was a lot of wrecking, fishing, turtling, and salt manufacturing, as it was a major center during the 19th century for salt production. However, Key West really grew for tourists during the 20th century, starting with Henry M. Flagler's East Coast Railway. Then, of course, Pan American Airlines was founded actually here in Key West, was Pan American Airlines. Yes, Pan Am was actually founded in Key West to fly visitors from Key West to Havana. And as a result, it became a very popular route. And Key West went through quite a few changes, especially with World War II. Harry S. Truman even did a vacation home here, known as the Little Harry S. Truman Little White House, where he spent 175 days of his presidency there. Even funnier was in 1982, it actually once asserted independence as the Conch Republic. But pretty cool city. Definitely worth checking out here. Sure. Here's some places to check out here while entering Key West. First is Ernest Hemingway's house. He once called Key West home in the 1930s. You will also get to learn not only about the author himself. Probably you guys probably know Ernest Hemingway as the author of The Great Gatsby. But you also get to see some Key West history. Then, of course, there's Duval Street. Duval Street has got lots of the famous bars and stuff, and there's a lot of great bars and stuff to check out here. And finally, if you have the time, you could do a day trip over to Dry Tortugas National Park. You could check out the different coral reefs and stuff to do some diving. But you could also check out Fort Jefferson, which was built in the 19th century, was used as a prison during the Civil War, and it's definitely one of the most scenic little forts in the United States to do stuff. So yeah, that is going to be definitely be a really cool place. It is. Mr. 90, good to see you, my dude. I hope you're doing well, Mr. 90. We're about to enter Key West. Good to see you. I saw you earlier in the sky today, Mr. 90. You were in the Stearman. But yeah, we're making our way over to Key West, Florida. Beautiful sky here today, for sure. Look at that, there's the Keys. What a beautiful sight. See here as well. Yep. Yeah, the Bahamas is definitely a beautiful place to fly over. I know the terrain isn't the most hilly, but see all those beautiful islands and all that. Definitely a cool place. Here's the rest of Key West for us. Check out. And finally, for Key West, we have one last slide to cover, and that is Key West International Airport. Key West International was the modern airport didn't start until 1913, but Key West Airport actually started back in the 1928s. But Key West has had an aviation history since 1913. Pan American was founded here in Key West, and they did flights between Key West and Havana. It was used for World War II as a seaplane base for fixed wing and lighter than aircraft. After the war, Key West International did a lot of prop service across Florida, Cuba. However, the first jet services didn't start until the 1960s with 727s to places like Washington National, Philadelphia, and JFK, with immediate stops in Miami, Palm Beach, and Orlando. While other airlines started jet service there, including Air Florida, Eastern Airlines, and Piedmont with their twin jets. And even today, there are still airline services to several destinations, including Charlotte, Dallas, Philadelphia, Chicago, Charlotte, Washington, Atlanta, New York, Boston, Fort Lauderdale, Tampa, Washington Dulles, and Newark. However, one of the big things that you definitely guys should keep in mind about Key West is its runway. It's only 5,076 feet. What that means is well, you have to be very careful about what types of planes can come out of the airport. Currently, the largest aircraft that serve here in this airport are the Airbus A319 and 737-700. So, hey, good to see you. It is Southeast Asia, my dude. Exclamation point server. We're in Southeast Asia, Biggles. Yeah. And also, in addition, planes that have to leave the from Key West have weight restrictions, so you can only have a certain amount of weight. So, do keep that in mind. So that is Key West International Airport. But yeah, planes having to fly in and out of this airport do have to weight restrictions, which is why I took the ATR today, because yes, I could take this with the 737, but but the ATR is a more fitting airport. But the ATR is more a better suit for this airport. Plus, um, they do fly the ATRs here to this airport from Silver Airways, which is one of the newer regional airlines, and they fly an entire fleet of ATRs. Um, According to okay, for Key West, they fly the ETR 42 actually. So this might be a bit big for it, but they fly the ETR 42 out of there. But I think the 72 can still work just fine. I just have to adjust the fuel and the trim. Yeah, this is an RNAV, and also this approach is going to be an RNAV. RNAV approach to runway 27. Guys, let's go ahead and get some lane predictions here for today. This one. So for Sunday, Sunday's flight, for this, um, I think for Sunday, I'm gonna probably take the Cessna 172 on Sunday. We'll be we'll be taking the Cessna 172 on, and we'll take it through Havana, Matanzas, Santa Clara, and Cayo Coco. We'll take the good old 172. So yeah, that's what I'm going to be planning on doing. I guess for the rest of the day, after today, we'll probably be checking out, for the rest of the day, just continue to do more flights. So last night, I've also been doing some other stuff too. I've been doing a couple of flights. Did a flight to Doncaster, Sheffield. I did one from Newcastle to Sheffield, which was a pretty nice flight. Um, Low altitude, but I got to check out some of the mountains at the North Pennines mountain range. Absolutely beautiful GA flying out there. That was nice. And then I did a flight from Birmingham into Leeds, Bradford, which is Echo Golf November Mike. And then I did two flights around Reno, Sacramento over to Reno. Got a beautiful view of Lake Tahoe, and then Reno to Salt Lake. But yeah, the flights from around here are pretty nice. But yeah, I've been really enjoying Reno International. I've been recently been doing like a few flights out of Reno because while I do like Lake Tahoe as our hub, I mean Reno just works out so much better for the airliners. Reno, I think, would be perfect for it. Reno would be amazing for the airliners, as an airport. And then obviously, Doncaster Sheffield was a former military base, so turned into a major to an international airport. But yeah, you can still see many of the former military stuff. So I think my idea would be transform Doncaster Sheffield into a military hub for both. While I can still do GA and airliners, that'd be still be a major deal. I would like to see it turn into something more of a military place because, like I said, the UK definitely needs something for military. So, and then of course Leeds is actually a very nice airport to land. It's actually a very scenic airport, Leeds Bradford, a very scenic airport. Yeah, I'm just hoping that in the future, I think for Firefly Air, it'd be really cool to actually have. Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for the future. We're still waiting for the for Bobby for Aero Economy because once we have more information for Aero Economy, I definitely want to have some sort of meeting with the admin team, see what we want to plan out for .com. Because I have, like I said, plenty of really great ideas with Aero Economy and more. I hope that could probably first stage of collapse. Yeah, right next to where we are is the Key West military base, Key West Naval Air Station, which is a pretty big air station around here in Florida. yeah, guys, I've definitely done a few lanes in Key West already before, because Pittsburgh obviously had some routes to Key West, so I'm already pretty familiar how to land here. Yeah, the runway, actually in the sim, the runway's actually now only 4,700 feet, so it's even shorter. So to our right is the Naval Air Station. So there's the Naval Air Station facility. Here's Key West. So there's the air station. Here's Key West. Like I said, I got adjusted with the floor and stuff, but yeah, I think I'm doing pretty nice. Here it is, guys, on Key West.
200. 100. 50. 40. 30. 20. 10.
Oh, huh, that's a pretty good landing here. Negative 182 according to Sim Toolkit Pro, and negative 146. That's a good landing. Yeah, I definitely like flying this thing. This thing's a lot to fly. So we're gonna go ahead and get this stopped, and we're gonna prepare for the next flight plan, um, which is gonna be Havana. Yeah, guys, that's our first stop. We still got one more. We got one more. This is Key West. Hey, Planet Neutral, good to see you, my dude. Let's get a shout out for Planet Neutral. Um, if you guys don't know about Planet Neutral, and he's an awesome, awesome friend of the community, a long time close friend to me and the community. He makes some amazing general aviation flights. He's doing his famous river runs on Sundays. So definitely check out his channel, Planet Neutral. An amazing, amazing dude. Love his stuff. Thanks so much, Typhon. Yeah. We're currently doing our around the world trip. We're gonna park. We're just gonna here. Put the parking brake. Stop right here. So this is Key West. We still got one more flight to take care of. Really shortly. So let's go ahead. Let me go ahead and try and get the flight plan for the next leg over to Havana. Let me go grab from SimBrief. Let me go ahead and take care of that. So if you guys want to join in, just take something like a King Air, a TBM, or a PC-12. That should probably have no trouble keeping up with this thing. Sure. So don't be afraid to take it. So for this one's gonna be about okay, I got the flight plan set up and loaded. This one's gonna be a 46-minute flight from Key West to Havana. Let's go ahead and let's import the brief information. So go ahead and set the flight plan. Fuel, payload. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna go ILS 6. Done. Enter. Performance is going to be about 18,000 feet. I'm going to go ahead and set up the nav information. So for nav, the ILS frequency for Havana is actually 110.50. Okay, that's it. Care of. Set the barometer to 18,000 feet. And we're going to go ahead ahead and unengage the parking and the parking brakes so we can get ready to take off with full flaps here. Full flaps for this one because, like I said, you only got a 5,000-foot runway. You do not have. There. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Oops. Didn't see where I was going. I went into the grass. God darn it. Forget my miscues and my idiocracy. Let's go ahead and take off. Oh, that didn't work. I'll have to do it again. I don't like slewing. Hey, hey, Large Life, you should set it to takeoff mode. It is takeoff mode. Oh my goodness, I forgot Large in Life. Whoops. Oh, thank you, Large in Life. I forgot to check the settings. Crap. Thank you, my dude. Thank you so much, my dude. I'm so sorry. I'm in Egypt. That's what checklist is for. I know. Usually I don't run into those issues, but hey. Sorry. But good to see you, Larger Life. First time chat. Good to see you, my dude. Like I said, my apologies. Yes, yes. Takeoff configuration warnings. Oh, damn. There we go. There we go, fixed it. But yeah, we're gonna make our way to Cuba. So let's go ahead and talk about another thing about Cuba I definitely want to talk about. So we're gonna talk about Cuba's national airline here today. And this we're gonna talk about Cuba's national airline, Cubana de Aviación. This is Cuba's national airline. It was founded all the way back in October 1929. Is the country's largest airline and is one of the earliest airlines to emerge in Latin America. Its headquarters are in Havana, with its main base at Jose Marti International. Originally, it was a subsidiary of Pan American World Airways, later a private company by Cuban investors, and then now became part of the Cuban government since the Cuban Revolution. It was actually a founder and current member of the International Air Transport Association and the International Association of Aeronautic Telecommunications. So yeah, this is Cubana de Aviación. The airline was established back in October 8th, 1929 by Clement Melville Keyes as Compañía Nacional Cubana de Aviación Curtis, originally as a flying school and charter carrier, started services in 1930. The airline's original name indicates its association with Curtiss aircraft, which included the Curtiss Robin, Sikorsky S-38, and Trimotor. However, Pan Am acquired it in 1932, leaving the word Curtiss, and just became Cubana de Aviación. And some of the routes included to Havana and Camagüey, Havana to Guantanamo, to Baracoa, and Santiago Baracoa routes. During the 1940s, they started their first flights, scheduled international flights to Miami using the Douglas DC-3, making it the airline the first Latin American one to establish scheduled passenger service to Miami. In 1948, it did its first transatlantic routes to Havana and Madrid via Bermuda, the Azores, and Lisbon in the DC-4. And by 1953, its fleet consists of planes of DC-3s and DC-4s, and in 1954, they also upgraded with 3 Lockheed Constellations, a C-46, and a Stinson, as well as 2 Super Connies in order, and it grew to even add the Bristol Type 175 Britannias for New York and Spain. However, once the Cuban Revolution happened in 1959, the government took over the entire airline, and they also urged the private passenger and cargo carriers into Cubana. With U.S. relations breaking in the 1960s, Cubana returned to the Soviet Union to obtain new aircraft, and some of the first Soviet planes they got included the Ilyushin IL-14 and Ilyushin IL-18 planes, which were turboprops, and they were mainly used for the domestic routes. And as a result, it became the first airline in the Americas at the time to operate Soviet-built planes. And then they also added in the Antonov AN-12 Cubs and the Antonov AN-24s to the fleet. In fact, it was that cooperation with the Soviets that allowed them to establish 18-hour non-stop scheduled service between Moscow and Havana in the 60s, using the Tupolev Tu-114 turboprop, which were some of the longest non-stop flights around the world, and it's still the fastest turboprop plane of all time. They actually used a lot of... Oh yeah, the marketplace went down. I did have server stuff, Mongo. Good to see you, Mongo. Yeah, some of the Microsoft services weren't doing that well. And also during the 70s, they also operated services to Peru, Chile, Panama, Guyana, and several Caribbean destinations. And then it also started services to Iraq, becoming the first Latin American carrier to ever serve Asia, though they were discontinued in the 1980s. In the 90s, they pursued a multifaceted strategy with challenges posed by the dissolution of the socialist bloc, and they restructured a lot of its fleet. Spare parts for Soviet-built aircraft are hard to source. Combine that with U.S. embargo. They did refurbish some of its planes in the 2000s. In the 2000s, they refurbished some of their Ilyushin IL-62s for some of its international routes, and they renovated them. So that's some of Cubana Aviation's history. Currently, Cubana operates flights to 20 destinations in Cuba, Europe, the Caribbean, and North and Central America. So some of its domestic destinations include Cayo Coco, Santiago de Cuba, and Guantanamo. But international destinations get a bit more interesting. While they do North American flights to Toronto and Mexico City, one of the most unique places that sticks out is Moscow, which for all those that aren't aware, to fly between Cuba and Moscow, that is a very, very long flight. Might take 7. For example, oh yeah. According to SimBrief, the flight will be 5,500 nautical miles, which is a really long flight. But yeah, according to that, you would have to go through Cuba, go through the North Atlantic trade, then you have to go around Europe, around other airspace, and get into Moscow. Yeah, one of the few Caribbean air services to fly to Moscow. Some pretty crazy stuff. In terms of their fleet, they operate the variety of aircraft. Some of the planes in their current fleet include 6 Antonov AN-158 regional jets that have been run since 2013. However, they've all been grounded since 2018 due to technical issues. They operate 2 ATRs, a 42 and 72 500s, 3 Ilyushin IL-96 300s, which is basically but they're currently in storage and basically the IL-46 is basically the Russian version of the A340 from Airbus. It's basically a Russian Airbus A340. And they finally fly two Tupolev Tu-204s, which is basically the equivalent of the 757. And then their former fleet gets pretty interesting. They offer a wide range of planes. Of course, they operate the Bristol Britannia, the Lockheed One Connies. They also operate some Soviet planes, including the Ilyushin Il-62M, which is basically a quadjet, but it's actually all rounded in the tail. And then the turboprop liners, the AN-12 and 24. So some pretty interesting planes that the Cubans have flown. So that is a bit about Cuba's national airline. So yes, we will be talking about the national airlines throughout the series because it's actually kind of important to learn. Yeah, Top Edison's going to be here very shortly. Here to Havana. Yeah, there's a lot of server stuff having issues, Mongo. Not just me. So. the front. So we have Cuba in sight. Cuba's right ahead of us. So we're just around. So for this flight, we are just around 62 nautical miles away from Havana, Cuba. So we're going to be here pretty shortly. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about Havana. Let's talk about the capital, Cuba, for a bit. The Havana is the capital and largest city in all of Cuba. It's definitely a very historic place. Has been around. The modern city of Havana has came around since the Spanish during the 16th century, and served as the springboard for the Spanish conquest of the America, becoming a very popular stopping point for Spanish galleons returned to Spain. And it was the capital in 1607 with tons of walls and forts to build to protect the city. It's also the Caribbean's second most largest metropolitan area, and the most populous city in the entire Caribbean. Contemporary Havana can be designated as 3 different cities in one: Old Havana, Vedado, in the newer suburban districts. The city attracts over 1 million tourists annually, by 1.16 million people, and in 1982, Old Havana is known as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, noted for its history, culture, architecture, and monuments. The city has some pretty rich history. Definitely a beautiful place worth checking out. Like I said, there's a lot of landmarks and stuff around the city. Speaking of landmarks, Havana has a lot of different landmarks checking out, and there are some really cool places. Of course, you can't forget about Old Havana, which is the UNESCO World Heritage Site. There are tons of buildings in that area, including there are lots of places within the old part of Havana. Tons of rogue and neoclassical buildings and cobbled streets, and many of them have been restored to its former beauty, and there are a lot of them. And some of the main sites include the Malecon, which is an avenue runs along the seawall, the Castillo de Moro, the picturesque fortress with access to the bay, and the Castillo de la Real Fortaleza, which is a Brazilian fort of the Royal Army, as well as the Havana Cathedral. But there are tons of great buildings in Old Havana. Outside of that, though, other landmarks in the city include the Plaza Veja, set in the heart. This landmark square is lined by colorful buildings with a variety of architectural styles, and of course, the long stretch of beach, the Playas del Este, or the Plaza de East. Yeah, the sad thing is this VNav's not working for some reason, because the VNav thing is just kept getting stuck in this visual flight plan thing. I don't know how to get rid of it. that is some of the places to visit in Havana. And finally, the last slide for today is Jose Marti International, located 12 miles southwest of Havana. It's the hub for Cuba de Aviación. Um, it's Cuba's main international airport and serves several million passengers each year. However, one thing to note is that private Cuban civilians are not allowed to own aircraft, as all aircraft in Cuba belong to the state-owned airlines and military. Only government and foreign-owned aircraft are allowed to use the facilities. The airport was established in 1930 to replace Columbia Airfield. Um, and here's some notes from its history. The first international flight out of the airport was to Miami in the DC-3. The first transatlantic flight from any Latin American country to Europe was from Havana to Madrid. And then it also started a lot of international stuff during the 50s and 60s. So there's 3 main terminals, and this airport does have a lot of routes that charge the airport. Aeroflot to Moscow, Sheremetyevo, Aerolíneas Argentinas to Buenos Aires. Air France goes to Paris, Nassau, Miami, Zurich, Caracas. It serves main destinations across Europe, North America, and South America. So it's definitely a pretty major airport. Definitely do consider it. Oh yeah, one guy did escape in an AN2 to Florida, and the livery said that. Ah yes, Typhon, you're right. That's right. So, so guys, thank you so much for joining along with me today. I know despite some of the issues I had, I just got the rest of the flight went safely. Yeah, welcome to Cuba, everyone. Yeah, there's some if you look to your east, you can see some of the mountain ranges in this part of Cuba. Yes, Cuba is, while most of it's flat, you definitely can see some mountain ranges in this part of Cuba. It should be a beautiful landing here. Yeah, can't. So on Sunday we're gonna be starting back from Mike Uniform Hotel Alpha. We're gonna check out Havana itself before moving on to Matanzas, Santa Clara, and Coco. So should be a really nice stream. Should be nice and relaxing. Should be a really good time. Mm-mm. Um, oh, let's do one last prediction, guys. Exclamation point predict. Type in a negative number. We'll get the land predictions for today's stream. This will be the last flight predictions we're gonna need for the flight. Well, let's go ahead and get the last land prediction for the day. So let's go ahead and get this done. Here it is, guys. Gonna turn left. Okay, localizer are on. Should get ready for flight slip soon. let's go ahead and get one last landing here. Thank you guys so much for being here. So we're gonna just let the thing to take care of itself. Deploy the lane here. Hey Court, good to see you, my dude. Welcome on in. We're about to make the final lane for today in Havana. So we're making our way down to Havana, so we're very close to making the final landing for today. This is day 4 of our around the world trip. Here it is, guys. So on Sunday we'll talk a bit more about Cuba. We'll mainly talk about its economy and stuff. We'll talk about its economy and stuff. About the economy, transportation, and talk about each of the cities and places we're going to be flying to on Sunday.
500. $200.
Yeah, I'm pushing way too low to the ground. Please tell me they fixed idle gates. I think they did. I don't know about the update, so.
$200. $100. 50. 40. 30. 20. 10.
9, negative 105 on Sim2 Pro, negative 108. Okay, nice landing. Park this. And that is it, everyone. Welcome to Havana, Cuba. So, yep, this is going to, we entered the second new country of our around the world trip, or technically third if you want to count the United States outside the US. This is our second new country we've just entered for our around the world trip. We're in Cuba. Guys, thank you all so much for being here. We'll be continuing the around the world trip on Sunday. We'll be flying, we're going to be flying the Cessna 172 over from Havana to Cayo Coco. So, guys, thank you all so much for being here. So, I'm gonna be sending you guys out the raid. Take care, everyone, and have a great rest of your day. Bye.